Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. And the topic of this 10-minute moan is two situations where knife crime was used in Scottish primary schools. Now, before I start, I just want to make sure everyone's aware this isn't about the kids. This story is not about, saying these kids are good kids, bad kids, or whatever. I'm not going to condemn nor condone what happened with these knives because I genuinely, obviously, I don't know the full background. I don't know if these kids were bad kids that were taking knives to school to commit, harm to others, or if indeed they were bullied and threatened and felt they were needed for their own protection. So I'm not judging the kids. What I'm judging is our society, and a society that actually thinks this is normal and acceptable. And in Scotland, we often hear such things down south, and we can palm them off as problems in England. But these two separate instances happened in schools in Scotland for kids 12 and under. And both of them happened, well, they've happened within a few weeks each other. I became aware of the both of them within 24 hours. Now, the first instance was in Glasgow, up in the north of the city at St Monica's Primary School. And the story was sent in to me by someone who follows me online. And it was from a story in the Digger magazine. Now, the Digger magazine covers a lot of crime issues predominantly in Glasgow, but the wider west of Scotland. And they sell it to newsagents, quite a popular magazine, and also available online to subscribers, one of which I have become. And the story, I'll just read out to you: knife out in schoolyard, Milton Primary School, scene of kids fight. The head teacher of St Monica's Primary School in Milton has reassured parents that no children were harmed during an alleged knife fight. The Digger was told that a blade was pulled out in the playground during an arranged fight between two children after the school bell. Head Martin Broadley said in a letter sent to parents from the school, the children involved are fine. And no harm came to either of them. The police were called, as were the parents of the children. The police have come into the school on Tuesday to speak to the primary 7 children and myself. Mr. Stewart and the P7 staff have spoken to the children in order for them to know the potential consequences of certain behaviour within school and the wider community. A source told the Digger 2 wee boys were fighting about 3 weeks ago. One of them brought in a blade. The blade was pulled out in the fight. Luckily, none of them were hurt. That's what most people are talking about. Wayne's taking knives into school. It was 2 primary 7s. That means they were about 11 years old. This was in the playground, 3 o'clock as the bell rang. The fight was arranged. Police went up to the school and had a big assembly about how they shouldn't be carrying knives. The source added that the school is standing back from this, as the incident is said to have happened after the school bell, and they're leaving it to the police. The letter from the head went to ask parents to monitor their children's social media and WhatsApp groups to ensure everyone is safe. I appreciate there will be conversations taking place around the community about this, and many will have their own views on what's taking place. However, we have followed policy and procedures to ensure those involved are properly supported, Mr. Broadley wrote. The letter, written in school-headed notepaper, was emailed to parents but wasn't dated. So that's the first one. That's within miles, a couple of miles of where I live. The second one, a wee bit further east, and still in the central belt in Falkirk, in the Falkirk Herald, talks about a school in Grangemouth. And their headline is, Pupil 10 had knife in Falkirk Council Primary School. Police were called to a Grangemouth Primary School on Friday over reports that a pupil had a knife. The child involved is 10 years old, and Police Scotland say they have spoken to their parents. An email was sent out to parents and carers of all pupils at the school stating we are aware of a serious incident which happened in school today. Please be assured that no one was harmed and that the necessary services were notified and actions taken. A Police Scotland spokesperson said around 12:20 p.m. on Friday, February the 7th, we received a report of a child in possession of a knife at a school in the Grangemouth area. Officers spoke with the parents of the 10-year-old, and police are working with partners in relation to the matter. A Falkirk Council spokesperson said We were made aware of the incident at one of the schools today. No one was harmed and parents were informed. The matter was dealt with promptly in line with the council policy, and appropriate authorities were informed immediately. The incident comes as a new release data shows there were 194 recorded crime cases involving Police Scotland where offensive weapons were used in schools in the past 3 years. It represents a 76% rise on 110 such incidents in the 3 years immediately before COVID. There have also been an increased number of police incidents involving a blade or pointed article being used in schools when the 3-year periods are compared, up 89 to 99. And then it tells you a lot about the figures, which school, government officials giving nonsense. So let's just have a look at that figure. We've got 190, almost 200. So that's about 70 per day. That's almost one. That's more than one a week in schools in Scotland. And we hardly hear about this. So there's this sort of myth that all these problems are further south in Scotland. And that simply isn't the case. These are on my doorstep. The furthest away one's about half an hour's driving the car. And these are only 2 of 194 in a 3-year cycle. That's nearly 70 a year. There's only 52 weeks in a year. And by the way, schools don't open for all of them. Schools are probably open for about 40 of them. So we're looking at nearly 2 per week of incidents that are, by the way, at the police, recorded. How many do we know here about? How many do the police not get informed about? How many kids get a knife thrown at them at school and they don't really know how to deal with it, so nobody hears about it? So this knife crime is a problem in Scotland, and it's a bigger problem than the mainstream media or the public know about and are discussing. And I find it a bit frightening that both of these stories that I've told you about today, one of them is in a wee local paper, the Falkirk Herald, which nobody mainstream's followed up on, and the other one, the Digger magazine, which is a local magazine that concentrates on local news to Glasgow. So is it any wonder people are walking about incorrectly thinking, well, Scotland's all right. Scotland is far from all right. Scotland is probably proportionally worse, or at least as bad as the major cities in the rest of the United Kingdom. But we want to just put a blind eye to it and say that's an English problem, because we only hear, unfortunately, these days when people are actually killed, and sometimes I've covered loads of knife crime stories across the UK where people have been murdered, and the stories don't even make the news or make the national press. This is epidemic. This is a crazy situation in our communities, and we need to sort it. If the police aren't going to sort it, the governments aren't going to sort it, then we as communities need to sort our own problem here. And that is making it unacceptable that people would carry knives, especially at primary schools, for goodness sake. This is blown my head over the last 24, 48 hours when I became aware of these problems. I never even thought for a minute. I kind of thought maybe high schools, but primary schools. 2 stories that I've heard about in the last 24, 48 hours, and both incidents sound as if they're only weeks apart. And I don't know how many others we've had in primary schools that I just haven't stumbled across, or people have sent me, because these both stories were sent to me by people that follow me on social media. And it's frightening. So, if you've learned anything for this video and you want others to see it, you can do a few things. You can hit the thumbs up button, you can hit the share button, and you can leave a comment. All these things help the algorithm to put it in front of more people. Or you can just copy the video link and send it to your pals in WhatsApp or whatever. But this is something that Scottish people need to realise is not a problem somewhere else. This is a problem in our own doorsteps. And as a community, we need to make sure our kids don't think this sort of stuff is acceptable and the norm. And that's why I'm saying I can't judge these kids, because I don't know the backstory of these things. I'm not here to tell you wee Bobby was a bad boy, took a knife to a school in Milton. Right? That ain't my job here. I just feel that it's a societal problem where a kid would even consider doing these things. So if you want it shared, thumbs up, comments, hit the share button and it will give you a copy and paste for the link that you can send to others. If you've not already done so, please consider subscribing and hit the notifications bell so you know when the channel puts out more news. And please give me your comments below, feedback. If there's any other stories I don't know and you want me to cover them, I'll jump in the car with a camera. But most importantly of all, as long as you're no part of this thing in society where we think this is acceptable carrying knives, not you, but
everyone else, have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.